Andrew Johnston, Managing Director of Quiller Publishing, Chairman of the Independent Publishers Guild. Welcome to the London Book Fair podcast.
Thank you.
We're a year on from the financial meltdown which cast a real pall over Frankfurt 2008. We don't yet know if the recovery is sustainable. How's the past year been for you and for independent publishers like you, and how was Frankfurt?
I was actually surprised at the beginning of this year because I thought within our particular niches, I mean, we do, particularly ourselves, sort of like equestrian books, and I thought that would hold up very strongly. In fact, the beginning of the year was much quieter than I expected, and I think that's probably reflected across the whole industry. But latterly, it's picked up quite strongly from the middle of the year onwards. Now, it's actually, we're certainly where we were last year, if not quite a bit up. All the people we wanted to see were there. I think, the main players are always there. As far as the future goes, as you know, in publishing, you have to work quite a long way ahead. So I'm quite bullish once again as to where we're going to be.
You set up Quiller in 2001, and your career before that had embraced major players. You started in foils, in fact, and then you merged Century and Hutchinson. You worked for Penguin. What was it like flying solo? Was it frightening or liberating? Were you prepared for life as an independent publisher? Well,
I thought it was going to be terrifying. I mean, I took the view that if I wanted to progress and develop, I probably wasn't going to be able to do that as a paid employee, and I'd always felt that, maybe arrogantly, that I knew more than I was able to do within a corporate environment. So that's why I went out by myself, and it was a big jump. I did it by acquiring one or two existing lists, so I sort of started not so much jogging perhaps as walking fast, rather than from a standing start, and that was a great help. The great key to it, and I think for all independent publishers, is to have a backlist and something that is going to keep you going, in good times and bad. And that's why I go back to what I said earlier on about this year. While it was quiet to begin with, we've always had this backlist that's enabled us to keep on going, whether there are new books coming out or not.
Yeah. If the likes of Faber and Profile, who are the standard bearers for the independent sector really, are anything to go by, the independent publishing world is actually doing rather well. Is that your experience?
Yes, it also comes into the pricing as well. We look at the great Dan Brown, where you can buy it $4.99 on Amazon or £5 at Asda. The sort of books that we publish, and indeed, Faber with their very worthy titles, you can price them accordingly, and you don't need to go down the discount route. I mean, we have £20 books, we have £60 books, and people will buy them because they know that it's the only place they can get the information in those particular sort of books.
The IPG, of course, has a Meet the Buyers event, and buyers do come to your conference. But the issue with the chains, as we all know, is that they demand very unrealistic discounts to which the major players give in. Independent publishers can't afford to give in, of course. Does that make it very hard to get your books onto tables in the major high street booksellers in this country?
To get into the chains is individually, as individual stores, is nigh on impossible now. 5-10 years ago we had our own sales force and they could call on virtually every Waterton store. It's very hard for anybody to get in to more than one or two, and certainly not on a regular basis. So either you go down the route of having a sales agency, or you do it, you do it centrally through head office. But there are only so many publishers that head office Waterton's can see. For instance, there are 5,500 publishers or something in the UK. So patently they can't see them all. So it is very difficult, and the IPG organises this Meet the Buyers seminar that we do each June, and that does get all the key buyers together, and we've had a great response.
I know you found huge support with the IPG when you came into publishing as an independent. You were the new kid on the block. What do you say to those independents who perhaps haven't signed up and become members yet? There
are so many benefits that one gets for a very small subscription. That frankly, I can't see the point of not belonging. But as far as the advantage for the smaller members and the startup members that we have is that they can rub shoulders with the top people in the industry at the conferences or at the Meet the Buyers meetings or anything like that. And I think it's a huge benefit all round. You're
working much more closely now with the Publishers Association. Of course, there was a bit of rivalry, I think, before, but presumably it's the overarching issues. It's Google, digitisation in general, the major issues on which you're collaborating most closely.
Yes, well, that's where we want to work more closely with PA, exactly that. And I just see that as an advantage for the industry as a whole. There's no point in us going down one route and the PA going down a parallel route. So we should all work together on those issues. But the PA has its own particular interests, and the IPG does as well, and that will never change.
Our 24/7 world is wired to a greater extent than even Marshall McLuhan could have imagined. Yet book fairs still matter. It's the face-to-face contact, isn't it, and the chance encounter, of course, that leads to a contract perhaps 6 months down the line.
I think you put your finger on it. It's face-to-face contact. How else can you do it? I say going back to the meet the buyers, for the industry to meet the trade buyers is just as important as for the publishers to meet other publishers, and they are rights fairs, as you know. Mm-hmm. So however much you talk to somebody on the telephone, it's always good to be able to meet them face to face, and Frankfurt and London, and to probably lesser degree now BEA are the places to do it. What
benefits does the London Book Fair in particular bring for IPG members?
The IPG stand is so well centred in location, apart from anything else, at London, and we have the big IPG party. But it's where it is, everybody goes through the stand. And it attracts a lot of interest, and we get new members coming through, and it just raises the profile of the IPG itself.
Now you're approaching the midpoint of your chairmanship. How's it going so far, and what do you hope to have accomplished by the end of it?
I'd really like to build up the membership, not just in the higher echelons, but to bring in more people down below, because I think the larger body of membership that we have is going to expand the opportunities for everybody within it. And it's really to expand out everything that we can do to help the trade. And we're a very open church, and willing to listen to everybody and move with the times. But there's so much happening, and the trade, as we all know, in the last 3 to 5 years has changed so much, and it will do in the next 5 years as well. So I think what I'd like to do in the second year is get the IPG on the course to be able to really be able to address the e-books and internet, which is going to become more and more important for everybody, and how to deal safely with the trade, and get the communications and be able to talk to the leading players from a position of strength, which I think the IPG has now.
Andrew Johnston, Quiller Publishing, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.